So Sean Strickland gets it done by 5-round decision against Israel Adesanya. I can't believe it. Out of all the outcomes I could have predicted, out of every single possible way I thought this fight could go down, the last thing that I could have thought of would be Sean Strickland sitting there outstriking Adesanya on the feet for 5 rounds. Are you serious? That's the most crazy part about this. Sean Strickland did not win this fight by grappling. He did not win this fight by one punch KO. He did hurt Adesanya at one moment, but he didn't win by just overall having more power than Adesanya. He genuinely was a better striker than Israel Adesanya. And this raises a ton of questions. But before I dive into that, I'm going to break down the fight and pretty much how it went down. And pretty much out the gates, Sean Strickland in the first round was, I think, kind of staying even with Adesanya. He wasn't losing. He wasn't winning. But then at the end of the first round, he lands this nasty 1-2. The 2 lands perfectly flush. Adesanya was trying to get too cute with his counter, trying to do what he did to Robert Whittaker in their first matchup when he KO'd him. And he got put down bad. Spun off, went to the ground. Sean Strickland was landing some heavy ground and pound strikes. Eventually, he got back to his feet, and then it went back to normal, and then that was the round. Israel Adesanya was genuinely saved by the bell against Sean Strickland. I can't believe it. It makes no sense. Then after that, second round was pretty close, but I think Adesanya edged it. And the third round was Strickland's, and the rest of the rounds were Strickland. Just him outpointing, outstriking Adesanya, and his striking defense looked amazing. Nothing that Israel Adesanya was landing was clean at all. It was always blocked, either just out of range, and might have tapped Strickland at times, but nothing was like super clean besides maybe a few shots that Israel Adesanya landed. Other than that, man, he was missing everything. I was getting blocked. And then whenever Strickland went into the pocket with him, he had the better strikes, the better exchanges. He was landing with more power, with the cleaner shots. He literally beat Adesanya with a 1-2 and maybe a hook every now and then. He had a good front kick as well. I won't forget to mention that. But pretty much, it was straight up a 1-2 down the pipe that beat Israel Adesanya. And now to really dive into what I was saying before, was Israel Adesanya really ever that good? Let's be honest here. Was he really ever that good? If we go back and go through his performances in his career, and especially in his championship reign, they were never too impressive. And I have said this in the past, man. Like, his performances against Cannonier, Vittori, a lot of these guys, Whittaker in the second fight, they weren't really too impressive. And even in both Pereira fights, I really did feel like Pereira was the better striker out of the two of them. And I know he KO'd him in his second fight. I don't care. Pereira was outstriking him on the feet in the first round and was winning that second round until he got KO'd. So at this point, is it really safe to say that Israel Adesanya really wasn't that good of a striker? Maybe he was a bit overhyped in his reign. He was good. Don't get me wrong. Adesanya was always a great fighter. But really, was he that good to deserve all that hype? I don't know. I don't really think so anymore, man. I don't really think so. And if you don't agree with me, I do understand. But at the very least, you have to acknowledge that Israel Adesanya, in hindsight, wasn't that dominant of a champion. Maybe he was good, maybe he was great, maybe he was still amazing, and you love to watch him. But he wasn't the most dominant champion like how we thought going into this Sean Strickland fight. He didn't really deserve to be a minus 700 favorite against Sean Strickland. I mean, at the end of the day, man, like, picking Adesanya was the right choice, and it would be... You'd be pretty dumb to pick Sean Strickland to win that fight. I'm not going to lie. It would take a lot of balls to pick him. But, I mean, dude, I can't really hate, man. Like, maybe Adesanya really wasn't that good in the first place. If you go back and look at his record, he was kind of 3-3 in his last 6. I think he lost that Whittaker fight. Then he beat Cannonier. Then he lost to Pereira. And then he beat Pereira again. And then he lost to Sean Strickland just now. So, in my opinion, you can definitely argue that Adesanya was 3-3 in his last 6. So, was he really that awesome of a champion? Can you put Israel Adesanya next to the GSPs or the Anderson Silvas or some of the best that ever did it in the UFC? I don't really think so. I think when we sit down and look at Israel Adesanya's career in hindsight, bro, it might have been pretty mid. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like, he didn't really have the most exciting performances. Again, like the Vittori, the Whittaker, the Cannonier. Yeah, he KO'd Paulo Costa. That was probably one of his best looking performances. The Whittaker in the first fight, yeah. But other than that, man, like the Romero fight, like everything that Adesanya did was pretty lame outside of the good moments that he had. Outside of 2 fights, Adesanya's reign wasn't dominant. It wasn't entertaining. It wasn't really as hyped as people made it out to be. And this dude might have been kind of overrated. But I'm not saying that to shit on Sean Strickland. The guy looked great. The guy looked good. He had, again, great defense. He had great offense, landed the better shots against Adesanya. He outstruck him for pretty much 5 rounds. He was the man. This was his night. I don't think Adesanya was off this night. I think he just wasn't that good, and Strickland was a better striker in the pocket, man. Maybe he's a bad matchup for Adesanya striking-wise. Maybe he needs somebody who is more dynamic to beat him. And when a guy who's really good at the simple shit like Strickland is, how good he is at just doing the simple 1-2 and setting that up, maybe that's a bad matchup for Adesanya at the end of the day. But Strickland looked great. The people's champ rises up again, and he beats the doggy weirdo in Israel Adesanya. I just really can't believe it. It's so amazing to me that this actually happened. This was probably the biggest upset of the year. And in terms of what happens after this fight, will there be a rematch? Probably. The UFC is already looking towards making another rematch with Adesanya and Strickland. I think Dana said it in his post-fight interview that he was looking towards making this rematch happen. It shouldn't happen. Like I said again, Adesanya is probably 3-3 in his last 6. He's not a crazy dominant champ that we thought he was. He's just a big name and better for the sport in general, which I'll get into in a second. But overall, I mean, Adesanya does not deserve a rematch. He lost his fight 49-46. He lost to Bahia 2 fights ago. He's not that dominant champion. Maybe if he lost to, maybe this was like Jan Blachowicz that beat him on the come up at middleweight instead of it being a light heavyweight, I could see the argument being there. But he's on a 1-fight win streak and he just lost to Strickland. Doesn't deserve to fight Strickland again for a rematch. Doesn't deserve it. I don't care how big of a name he is. He does not deserve it. He needs to fight an up-and-comer. He needs to fight another contender. I say give him the winner of Khamzat or Costa. And yeah, roll with it. Duplessis gets his title shot. I think he deserves that 100%. And if Adesanya beats Khamzat or Costa, then we can have that big fight in him versus Duplessis. That's how he's going to have to earn it. Not by just getting an immediate rematch. I really don't want to see it, man. I don't want to see it. 49-46, you lost fair and square. You got dominated throughout 5 rounds. That does not warrant a title shot. A rematch, I'm sorry, a rematch. And I said this before, man. I said this before. The UFC does not want Strickland to be champion. He is totally bad for business. Again, like this guy is one of these guys who's really hard to promote. He says a bunch of crazy, outlandish shit, some political shit as well. He's not going to be very good for the UFC. In terms of promotion, every single other word that he says is a cuss word. ESPN already hates that. He's crazy. He can be very controversial at times. I love Strickland. I like him as a fighter and as a person and a human being. But in terms of business, again, he is bad for business. The UFC is going to want him gone as quickly as possible. So they're going to feed him, again, maybe another Adesanya again. They're going to just go ahead and give Adesanya that rematch because they need him to be a star. He's the only guy that can probably carry a pay-per-view by himself right now, besides maybe John Jones. That's literally it, and Conor McGregor. But that's literally it. So nobody is as active as those two. I mean, John Jones fights once a year. Conor McGregor hasn't fought in the past few years. So Adesanya is their main moneymaker right now in the UFC. So they need him to be champion. So I can just see them giving him the rematch no matter what. And I guess probably give him a Khamzat. They might even call down Bahia again. They'll say, hey, can you make middleweight? We'll give you a huge pay increase to fight Sean Strickland for the title at middleweight, just so that they can get him gone and out of there. I can see that happening. It wouldn't surprise me if the UFC gave Bahia a call. So Sean Strickland gets it done by 5-round decision. Looked amazing. Looked great. I went insane for it. Check my reaction and my live stream. I should have some timestamps in the description of that video. So go check that out. My whole entire fight reaction. So yeah, go look at that. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching this video up to this point. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications. I'm out of here, guys. Peace.